Welcome to episode 6 of gamingti. As usual, we got some interesting topics for you guys today. But before we jump into that, Tristan, what sales do you got for us?
Sales, not so good on the PC side.
Hmm.
Last week was the was the big deals week. This week is it's okay. We got some games and good old games. Like if you're into classic games, we've got games like Assassin's Creed Director's Cut. That's like the old Assassin's Creed, like one of the first ones, I think. And it's $6.79, down from $20. And we've got
Damn.
Far Cry and Far Cry 2 for $3.99. Those are, yep,
Damn.
well, $3.99 each. Still,
I mean, still though. But you know that reminds me about, like, real quick though, Assassin's Creed. I bought the first Assassin's Creed from our high school electronics teacher. I'm not gonna drop his name, but I bought it from him for well, I guess what's the equivalent of like $20 or like $15 or something US. Yeah, he just brought it, and I was like, dude, I want it, and he was like, $15. I was all right. That shit was
cool.
a steal.
I didn't even know he liked games.
Oh yeah. We talked games a lot. I bought more than just that from him. I can't remember the other games though, but that was the first game I bought from him. I bought like 3 or 4 games from him. Yeah, he was a cool dude. He was low key, but again, looking back, I appreciate him. But anyway, back to the deals. What else you got for us?
The Prince of Persia series. I've never played them. I heard good things about them though. I did not have a.
Man, that was one of my personal favorites back then. And my cousin and I used to play it all the time. Sands of Time, Prince of Persia, Sands of Time. I believe that was the one.
That one's not here, but I I didn't have a PC, or I don't think I had a good enough. I had a current console at this time to run these games. But
Hmm.
they're all $3.39. Everything on Good Old Games right now, and we'll have this link in the description. Yeah, I'll get this link in the description.
Yep.
The sale ends in 2 days and 13 hours, and all the games here are 75% off, I believe. They've got some more
Big.
games like Rayman Origins, Rayman 3, Rayman 2. What else? The Tom Clancy original Rainbow Six from 1998 and Ghost Recon from
Damn.
2001. These are some good old games, and of course, Tom Clancy Splinter Cell, $3
Classic.
and 39 cents. And then, speaking about classic games, Halo and the Master Chief Collection just dropped on PC.
Big.
You could pick it up on Steam for $40 for the entire package, or you could just get Halo Reach for $9.99. But it's a Microsoft game, and of course, Microsoft has Xbox Game Pass for PC, and you could pick up Xbox Game Pass for $1 for 3 months. Well, $1 a month for 3 months. So you have that option.
That's a good option right there. I mean, and I know that I think they're allowing modding on that now because there's an option now to turn off the cheats, the anti-cheat system, my bad. So I heard a lot of people are already going to be starting to mod that. So see how that goes.
Neat. Like this game could get pretty big on PC.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
And I mean, considering like we just saw before we started, Ninja is streaming it right now.
Yeah.
A lot of the big streamers, again, like a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of the big streamers, but a lot of the streamers that I know that I follow, Mendo, Albert Laley from TSM, and even King Richard, a lot of them are streaming Halo Reach right now. So
Yeah,
that says something.
Halo is resurgent, and plus they've got the new Halo game coming out next year. Is it next year or is it 2 years from now?
It's probably next year because they're probably gonna drop it with the release of the Xbox. I'm not sure though.
Probably. Yeah, actually you're right. Yeah. So yeah, that's coming out, and we could see a big Halo scene again. Has been absent for a while. Halo could make a resurgence.
Yeah, and I mean, considering that one of, I guess, the biggest gamers, arguably of our generation, Ninja, he started on the Halo scene. That's kind of how he learned or that's how he got into the pro scene, and kind of developed from there. I could easily see him kind of being like, it's time to bring that back. And time to show you guys my origin story. So,
Isn't he like an old man now though? In
oh,
in the esports in the esports scene.
yo, everybody, I swear, like Shroud is an old man in the esports. I think he's 25.
Yeah, I mean, from the time you hit 20, in the esports scene, you start to get to like the back off of your
Yeah,
career.
I was like, all right, old man, move over. We coming through. Ninja's 28, so
Oh, yeah, he's way too old.
yeah, man's basically in the grave, 1 foot in the grave, man.
Last thing, Life is Strange episodes 1 through 5 is available on Fanatical for $3.79.
That's one thing I would say right now. Get that shit, bro. I liked. I only played the first episode, I think, or the first couple, but I liked it. It was good. Story was good. Gameplay was cool. It's a nice thing to sit down and just kind of chill and
What
play.
about the console side? Anything good? Any good deals on that side?
Yeah, we got some. We actually got a few good deals. If you have a PlayStation and you play online, that means most likely you'll have PlayStation Plus. So what that means is you have access to Titanfall 2, which I have it, still have not played it yet, but I've only heard good things about it from you. So
Definitely the best story in any single player game. The best story mode, best campaign, hands down.
yeah, I'll be playing the predecessor of Apex, technically in some sense, or at least I wouldn't say the predecessor, the cousin of Apex Legends. So it's definitely a welcome game to pick up on the on PS Plus. So just again, you don't even have to download it. Just add it to your library, and it's there forever. We also have on the not free side, we also have Red Dead Redemption 2 Special Edition, $36 right now. Normally it's 80. Injustice 2 Legendary Edition, $15 right now. If you still don't have Grand Theft Auto 5, I mean, I don't, go pick it up right now, $15. You also have Mortal Kombat XL, $6 right now. If you want some of the older Call of Duties, or actually before I mention Call of Duty, Fallout 4, $9, Hitman 2, $15, and some of the older Call of Duties, we have Call of Duty World War II, Gold Edition, $20, Black Ops 3, The Zombie Chronicles, $20, Dead by Daylight Special Edition. I know a lot of people were playing Dead by Daylight for a little while. I saw a lot of people streaming it. It's $15 right now. Pick it up if you're into that. And for the anime people out there, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Eyes of Heaven bundle, $15. Everybody loves
I
JoJo.
don't know what that is, but it sounds super weeby.
Yo, JoJo is that's a topic for another time, but JoJo is, bro, I'm not gonna lie. I only started watching JoJo pretty recently, and it's a weird anime. Like if you watch it from without any context, you're gonna be like, this shit is weird. It's hella weird. That's all I'm gonna say. If you didn't pick up Black Ops 4 last year with the Battle Royale and everything, you could get that on, again, PlayStation for $40, and you're getting the digital deluxe version, which is why it's $40 still. So if you're down to play some good old Black Ops Battle Royale, go get that. Call of Duty Remastered is Modern Warfare Remastered is also on there for $16. And if you want the season pass for Fallout 4, along with Fallout 4, which I mentioned earlier, you can also get that for $20. Those are just some of the notable ones, but they got a lot of stuff going on right now. So it's just their end of year sale. So most likely this will be running all the way up until New Year's. So definitely go check that stuff out. On the Let me see, on the Xbox side, they do have some specials. If you like rugby, you can you can pre-order Rugby 20. So it's not even out yet, but it's on pre-order for a discount. Instead of $50, you can pay 45. If you want Immortal Planet, which is, I believe it's an indie game that just got ported over to Xbox, that is currently on sale again for pre-order. It went from $15 to $13.50. Not a big thing there. There's also a limited time offer to use the Xbox Design Lab to design your own Xbox controller, and really depends on what you choose, but you get free engraving and free shipping up until December 31st. So there's that option for you there. And like Tristan was mentioning earlier, Game Pass, Xbox and Game Pass has a huge library of games on there that you can pick up for $1 a month for 3 months. So pretty good deal. On the Switch side, on the Nintendo Switch side, I got to remember that my Switch is sitting next to me. I haven't touched it in months. You could get Mortal Kombat 11 instead of $60. It's 30. if you like I'm telling you right now, if you want to get Switch games, get it now because Nintendo very rarely puts their stuff on sale, man. So you got Kombat 11, $30. You got a couple of Scribblenauts game for 10 bucks each. Lego Movie 2 video game, $16, and Lego City Undercover, and then also The Incredibles, as well as the Harry Potter collection for $15. So not all together, but they're all a lot cheaper than they should be. Go check out Nintendo.com and yeah, just head over to their game store and they have quite a few things on sale for you. All right, so I guess we could jump into something that's pretty interesting that was recently announced, which is I think we spoke about it a couple weeks ago about the future consoles that are coming out next year. We have the new Xbox coming out. I believe it's still under Project Scarlet, with no official name for the console itself yet, and the
Hmm.
PlayStation 5 coming out.
I bet you they're gonna call it something stupid.
Oh, 100%. Xbox is they're not they've been switching up their naming conventions. We realize we spent a lot of time on this podcast like absolutely like just ripping on the naming conventions of certain things. But when you have stupid names, you have stupid names. That's just the truth.
Yeah, I don't know how they went from the Xbox Live. I don't know why not call the original Xbox, just call it the Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was the Xbox Live, then 360. Great. So the logical next step from that, one.
720.
Nah, just one.
We're gonna start it all over. We're gonna start where PlayStation started, and we're now gonna call it one.
I hope they call it the two.
They're
I
definitely
really hope
not.
they do. No, that
They're
makes too
definitely
much sense. That makes too much
it's too
sense.
straightforward. But whatever they do end up calling it, Phil Spencer, who is he's the executive vice president of gaming at Microsoft. So he has said nobody's asking for VR on Xbox. So whereas PlayStation is probably doubling down and really gonna release what I severely hope is a better version of the PSVR, which is garbage. I'm sorry, it's just so bad.
We get
Um,
it, bro. You don't like that.
I
You
don't like it
don't
at
like
all.
it.
But hope PlayStation is probably going to be releasing a new version of it, and to some extent, that is obviously going to be a little bit better. Again, hopefully. Whereas, so they're kind of doubling down. Whereas Xbox it has taken the stance of nobody's asking for it, so you're not going to get it. So don't expect it. And Phil Spencer has said, "Quote: I have some issues with VR. It's isolating, and I think of games as a communal kind of together experience." I can see where he's coming from, but at the same time, I do think that they are being, kind of in their head about it. They're not
That's kind
really.
of narrow-minded, because
I was
you
gonna say
can't have
exactly,
multiplayer VR games.
exactly.
Weren't you telling me about that VR game like table tennis or something like that?
Yep, yep. There's so I have the Oculus Quest. Um, I love it. It's great for a standalone VR headset. It's phenomenal. And there was a game I played. I think it's like Rocket Tennis or something, and it was a pretty cool experience. I was playing with people, you know, um, East Coast, America, Canada, pretty good latency. Obviously, they haven't added a talking function, but just kind of seeing another who's technically a person on the other side, even though you're just seeing basically a robotic kind of silhouette of them. They're waving at you. Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. I didn't feel isolated and alone, but I guess the way they're taking it from is if people are next to you, kind of thing. I don't know.
That still doesn't make sense because I mean the service that they're selling currently. What did you call it? Xbox Game Pass, or I'm sorry, what is Xbox Online service?
Oh, Xbox Live Gold. Well, yeah, like the
Right.
Xbox Live.
That you're not sitting next to someone and playing online with them, right?
No.
Plus, I mean, look at Steam. with VR, Steam VR chat, a
Hmm.
lot of people use that,
Yeah, it's a
and
huge social platform.
it's not isolating. So maybe he just means we don't think we can do it well. Maybe that's what he means by that
So
statement.
it's funny. He also says later on to again, quote, I think we might get there. So, but yeah, that's not where our focus is. So I think you might be onto something there. They're just like, damn, we probably can't execute this properly yet. So
Yeah,
nah.
well, probably say that. Probably say, you know what? We're not really good at it, so we're just gonna not do it right now,
Yeah.
and we'll work on it. You could have said that.
Could have easily. But I think it's also definitely a case of there's probably so much it's expensive to invest and get us like start up a VR program. Although you would think with Microsoft and their resources, and they even had that AR headset, the HoloLens, I believe.
Yeah, they still
Y-
have that. They're still working on that.
Yeah, and you would think that they'd be able to at least implement some of the technologies used in it for instead of an AR experience, but for a VR experience. The tracking and so on. The tracking is a big part of VR, and if that's done well, you have like half of the job done. So I don't know,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's just not where their focus is, and we'll see where it goes. But
Do you think it
related to
matters?
what
Do
do
you
you
think
mean?
it matters if the new Xbox has VR? Even if the new PlayStation has it?
I don't think so. Honestly, I I think that the only way it would matter a lot is if there's a VR is still fairly it is still a generally fairly expensive, niche thing. I think it would only matter if they were able to bring down the price point, because what would happen is then that makes VR more accessible to a lot of people. Most people who if you own a console and you're fairly up to date with things, you've heard about VR, you probably have either wanted to try it at some point or you have tried it and maybe had a bad experience with it. But I think for it to matter, they have to bring down the price point so the average person could, validate picking up a unit.
Hmm. So like 150, 200,
Yeah, I mean, it again, it could be a case where maybe they just they can't get the price down far enough yet
probably.
to
Probably.
for it to be valuable.
Yeah. They probably just. It could be that they can do it, but they can't do it cheaply
Yeah,
or cheap enough.
yeah.
I mean, they're not Facebook, right?
Exactly. And that's the next thing, right? Facebook bought Oculus a few years ago or a couple years ago, and they also just recently bought Beat Saber studio. So I think it's Beat Studios is or Beat Game. That's the studio behind Beat Saber. Yeah, so Beat Games is joining Facebook's. It's now basically under Oculus, which again is owned by Facebook, and a lot of people are kind of scared about that. Not even in the privacy sense of. We'll talk about that later in terms of privacy policies with Facebook and all of that. But one of the things is now that a company like Facebook owns Beat Saber, and Beat Saber is a rhythm game, a game based heavily around music, and it's based solely around music essentially. You have a lot of people who mod the game so that way they can have songs that are not officially supported by, Beat Studio or Beat Games. So now that starts to bring into question, damn, does that mean, modding like that is no longer going to be allowed?
Uh, well, Facebook, Facebook would only buy the game if they see an opportunity to make a profit. And charging people for music, for like custom music, is probably a way they're looking at making money.
The thing is, I feel like music's such a touchy topic, because especially nowadays, how do you get that artist permission, Because people mod anime openings, people mod rap, people mod rock, people mod, metal, all kinds of almost any kind of music that you can think of. The only thing I have not found, there's even a few dance hall songs I have not found soca on modded tracks for soca yet, but mostly every genre that you can think of, Beat Saber has, or at least Beat Saber has modded. Like the community has modded.
I can't think of any other reason why Facebook would buy them though.
I mean, so one of the reasons they decided to buy Beat Saber, and again, quote, Beat Games is a strong team with proven potential across VR games and music. With the resources and know-how that we can offer, Beat Game will be able to accelerate, adding more music and more exciting features to Beat Saber, as well as bringing the game to more people.
Yeah, but where's the profit? When there's gonna make, and from that quote, the only thing that I'm seeing that can make them money is adding more music,
Now, you know, can make that money.
ads as well. Yeah,
I mean, I was gonna say selling user data.
true, very true, and very on brand, very on
Yeah,
brand for Facebook.
Facebook is very well known to just kind of creep in and say, "Oh, man, nice data you got there." And be ashamed if somebody sold it. So, I mean, again, no financial details of the acquisition itself have been revealed in the announcement, but it seems like a deal done already. And Facebook has already added Beat Game to the Oculus Studio, like, you know, portfolio brand, kind of whatever you want to call it. So,
But what kind of data do you need to enter, and to make like a? Do you need to make an account with Beat Saber or Beat Game or something like that?
no, you don't, because so the way it most times works is that so Beat Saber is available on basically most platforms that have VR. Um, so it's also available on the PSVR. It's available on Steam or whatever the computer equivalent is. It's available on PC as well. Um, and in order to get it on the Oculus, you have to create an Oculus account, which you can also use your Facebook account to connect.
Ooh, okay. So that's where they get the data from. Well, since Oculus and Facebook is one and the same now. So,
One and the same.
all
Yeah.
right.
So I mean, they technically didn't need to buy Beat Games to get your information because they technically already have it because they own Oculus and the Oculus Store. So I have an Oculus Store account and all of that. So whatever I do when I'm on my headset, they can technically know.
That's reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely can't browse any sites. But it's it's interesting. I mean, and Facebook also announced a tool lately that, or one of their latest tools that lets you transfer your media to Google Photos. They literally announced that on Monday, December 2nd.
Hmm.
So
This
I
makes, I guess this makes sense on them for like to get some heat off of them, like a little bit of heat off of them, just to say, well, here, look, we're giving your info to Google. You like Google, right? Yeah, you can.
yeah.
Yeah, you can give. We're giving you the ability to give Google your stuff. So if something goes wrong, if those photos get leaked, then you don't know who to blame, right?
It could be us, it could be Google. I don't know, but it's not just us anymore. And so this is a quote coming from Steve Satterfield, who works as Facebook's director of privacy and public policy, and he said, "At Facebook, we believe that if you share data with one service, you should be able to move it to another.
Of course
That's
they
the
do.
principle of data portability, which gives people control and choice while also encouraging innovation. Today, we're releasing a tool that will enable Facebook users to transfer their Facebook photos and videos directly to other services, starting with Google Photos. So it's just starting with Google, and it's probably going to roll out more to other places. But it's interesting. I like that quote. We believe that if you share data with one service, you should be able to move it to another.
That sounds eerily similar to we believe that if you share data with us, We could share it with anyone.
Yeah. It's like if we're doing it, we might as well give you guys the ability to do it, you know.
Facebook, man, what a company.
And what a company, man. And
There was a former Facebook employee. I can't remember his exact name. I think he was one of the founders that
mm.
recommended that anyone with a Facebook account should delete it if they care about their security.
Oh, I remember this. I forgot his name. But yeah, he left them a few years ago.
Yeah.
Um, because he just was like, this is
And
ridiculous.
he's not even trying to like poach their users or anything. This was just a statement saying, yo, just so you know. This wasn't like him trying to get Facebook users off of Facebook just to join his platform. So
Yeah,
he has no incentive to give out that information.
yeah. He's just looking out for the average
I
person.
mean, it's been a well-known fact that for like since the turn of this decade, I would say around 2010, maybe like a little before that, that your data is valuable. It's like one of the most valuable things
Mm-hmm.
out there right now. And I think because of that, we having another effect where privacy is becoming more and more of a commodity.
Indeed,
Yeah, it's hard to get privacy, yo.
very. Internet privacy is one of the biggest things. It's one of the biggest topics nowadays. Cybersecurity in general. And, you know, one way a lot of people kind of, once you are registered to a site and you have a profile and so on, it's very hard to kind of say what they can and can't do with your information because once you sign on to a site, you scroll through those terms and conditions without even glancing at it, and then you hit okay, and that just gives them the okay to you could have just signed your life away. No, like you don't know. You're just
And most
trusting
people
that
don't
you
care.
haven't because so many other people have signed up. And most
Yeah,
people don't care,
yeah.
like you said.
But I think it's not really okay. Maybe I might have I might have rushed to say they don't care. It's just the convenience of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so easy. Like let's say you want to start an account with a new website with a new social media platform. A lot of them give you the option to sign in with Facebook. It's like, yeah, you could enter your email address and enter your name and date of birth and all that good stuff. Make a new password, or you could just click this button and
Sign in with Facebook.
and we're good. That's it.
Yeah.
Sign in with Facebook. Do you know how difficult it is to undo that sign in with Facebook?
Very.
It is not easy, yo. Like I recently had to go through that with because I'm trying to deactivate my Facebook account, but it's hard because I was one of those people that just it's so tempting just to click sign in with Facebook. You know,
Hmm.
everything is just there. So I had to go through the experience of like my Spotify account was linked with Facebook.
Right.
So I wanted to unlink it so I could eventually have my standalone Spotify account
Spotify.
so I could,
Hmm.
delete my Facebook account.
Right.
And the amount of steps that you need to go through, the amount of hidden settings that you need to find is ridiculous. First of all, you can only do it from the Spotify desktop app.
Yep. Yep. I remember that. I had to do the same thing myself last year, 2 years ago, something.
Why? Why is it that you can't do it from your phone?
Why isn't there one button that just is like unlink?
Exactly. Just
That's
as
it.
easily as it was to link the account. Just unlink it. Let me enter my own email address, my something separate from Facebook, and that's it. I'm sure they can do that, but they don't want you to because your data is important.
Yeah.
They need to know.
Very. And it's funny because I Facebook isn't the only one responsible for stuff like this. I oftentimes use instead of creating a new account with a lot of like these sites that I might only use once or twice or like very very rarely, I admit I use sign in with Google. You know, it's just
Yeah.
that's there too. And the reality is that it's it's an option because of how data works. It's a case of, if one place has your data, they can, instead of having to enter it for every single place, they can just share it to the place that you want it to go to. So if you go to a website and they have a sign in with Google option, that means you're now permitting Google to share your information with that site. That's how it works. And kind of getting that information back is very hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the internet, so once it's out there, it's out there, right?
It's out there. Yep. Yep. And there's breaches happening every day, every other day. It's crazy. I honestly think the next one of the big companies that will arise is going to be a cybersecurity company that sells cybersecurity to governments, to what do you call it, to governments, to businesses, to cities, because cities are also being held hostage. Their files are being held hostage by hackers and so on. But I don't think it's just going to be a VPN. Like, we could talk about VPNs right now. I have the worst VPN in the world, and I'm locked in with them for like the next 5 years. I mean, it was a sale. It was cheap. I could easily just go to another VPN and just forget the money. But yeah, I have Nord. I'm gonna just say it.
Uh, Shame.
It's a
Thought
shame.
you were better than this, bro.
Hey man, in my defense, a lot of the YouTubers and stuff I watch, because anytime you're on a YouTube video and they're like, hey, check this out, we use NordVPN, I like NordVPN, here's a sale, boom, take it. And they're YouTubers that I liked, I trusted. I mean, I was like, all right, I want a VPN, let me get this one. I know you have something a little bit better, although it's a little bit more pricey, but I guess like they say, if it's cheap, that means, or if it's cheap or if it's free, that means you're the product.
Exactly.
So what do you have?
I use ExpressVPN. The superior products.
Yeah.
Knock on
Yeah.
wood. Next.
Next week we hear a problem with them.
Yeah, but I like ExpressVPN. It's a little more expensive, but it works, and I feel secure and it's fast.
Right.
So yeah, and it's like the most popular.
Yeah, that's one thing I know for sure. When I was looking at most popular VPNs, when I was trying to like fully decide, Nord was in the top. Express was, but I saw Express's price and I was like, Nord does the same thing, but for cheaper. I'm gonna get Nord. Bad. I wouldn't say horrible idea, but actually, so before we go forward, let's just break down a little bit of what a VPN is in the first place. You want to let the people know?
Basically, it tells your uh, it's your ISP. Well, it changes your IP address basically,
Mm-hmm.
so that you appear to be in a different location than you actually are. So, and when you're browsing, you browse privately. So any information that is currently being sent, there's I believe it cuts off the link between your ISP and you.
Mm-hmm.
It like puts a some extra steps between it
Yep.
so that they can't get that information.
So yeah, it's that's basically it. It's just and VPN stands for virtual private network. It's literally just that. Instead of connecting to your ISP and telling your ISP, hey, I want to go to Facebook, it's essentially connecting to another server or computer somewhere else, and then that thing is telling your ISP, hey, I want to go to Facebook. So just think of it as a middleman.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with Nord is they have claimed a quote unquote zero logs policy where they don't track, collect, or share your private data. The way VPNs work is they have servers in various countries all around the world. So most of them you could easily connect to one. Like, I'm in America, I could connect to a VPN that's in America, so it's a server that's in America. But I could also just as easily connect to a VPN, a server that's in Russia. So now my IP address is Russia. So when I go to facebook.com and Facebook's like, where is this person located, it's going to say Russia. But the problem is one of the servers that Nord was, the thing is, they rent these servers essentially from a server company basically. And one of the servers had like an exploit, kind of like an intercept, kind of a very complicated man in the middle kind of. It's kind of like you have a middleman who talks to your ISP. There was somebody else next to your middleman kind of talking into his ear saying, hey, what's that person giving you? So it was a breach, and they weren't very forthcoming about it. I honestly think in this day and age, if you make a mistake that has to do with people's cybersecurity and so on, especially something like a VPN where people could be sending sensitive information such as credit card information and so on over it, you should be straight. You should be very upfront about that. Like, hey, we made a mistake, but this is what we're doing to fix it. People had to find this out. Like, they kind of said, oh, a few months ago we found, and it's like, a few months
Yeah,
ago?
yeah. But that's how it works with these company. Anytime there's a breach, the breach is never current. There's always a couple months ago. Like I think Intel had a breach. They're still having a breach with Spectre, Meltdown, Zombie Load, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Some private, I believe it was contractors. I think it was contractors. They found it. They told them about it, and Intel said, "All right, okay, thanks for bringing this to us. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. We're gonna look into it. We're gonna fix it. Don't tell anyone. We're gonna fix it. Just don't tell anyone."
Yeah.
They had a patch. They fixed some things, but didn't fix everything.
Hmm.
The people came back and tell them, "Hey, yo, we saw that you fixed some things, but everything is not fixed." Intel said, "Okay, okay, gotcha. Still don't tell anyone. We're gonna fix that." And then they never did. So it's now coming in like months after the fact that hey, all the time that you were using your computer, you weren't secure, by the way.
Right.
And I don't know, like okay, I understand why they do it, just because you don't want to have that information out, right?
Yeah. You don't want that to be public.
Yeah, you don't want to know that. Yeah, they're currently breached because that could that could have a negative impact. Like you want your users to know, but that could also negatively impact you because you are vulnerable,
Hmm.
right? But still, there should be a better way. And as a matter of fact, for something like a VPN, this should not happen.
It shouldn't happen in the first place. One of the researchers who looked into the company's systems, they said, and I quote again, they spent millions on ads, but apparently nothing on effective defensive security.
Yep.
So yeah, sure enough. I mean, although again, this isn't recent. I mean, it is fairly recent. This happened back in October, but it's still relevant
Yeah, the story broke in October, but the server was breached in March.
in March. Yeah. So the story came out October. Server was actually breached in March, and we're talking about it now. But just because it's still relevant, cybersecurity again, it's not something that's going to go away. It's here to stay. So people really need to kind of understand it and be on
Like
top.
what do you do other than use a VPN to like protect your privacy online?
So I have a password manager. I use Dashlane. What do you use? Because you also have a password manager, right?
Yeah, I use LastPass.
Right. So, uh,
They should sponsor us.
they
Why we
yeah.
just we're
Yeah,
just
we just talking about the stuff that we use, the good stuff. I mean, y'all need to, if y'all listening to this, you know what to do. Hit us up on Twitter, twitter.com/gamingti2. Don't ask me why there's a two there, but it's there. But yeah, so Dash, like for me, I use it because at one point in time I had so many of the same passwords for so many different sites. Like my Facebook was the same password as Google and all that stuff. It just became a case of like, yo, if they find one, they just find everything.
yeah, that's the thing. You should definitely not use the same password for everything.
Don't like. I'm trying to get my mom to not, because my mom, she doesn't do it as much anymore. But there was one point in time where it was like the same password for everything. My dad hasn't been doing like, I don't know my dad's passwords. My mom, I help her with a lot of stuff, but they're like, my mom's finally like, she writes down all of her passwords basically in a secure book that's in a secure location, and she has it like that. But a password manager is definitely the best way to go, because I generate a 20 string random string of characters and symbols for every single password that I use.
Yeah, I don't know any of my passwords.
Yeah, and that's also the kind of scary thing too. Like the only
Yeah,
password I do know is my Gmail password, my Google password, because that's like the center for everything. I sign up with
yeah,
everything using my Gmail.
yeah, of
Um,
course.
but that thing's basically a sentence, bro. It's
It's a
basically
psalm. It's like a
yeah,
Bible verse.
yo, like think of it as a mathematical equation unique to me, you know? So, and there is actually a pretty cool way of, if you don't want to have a password manager, you can easily just think of a sentence and then pull the first and last letter from every like word in the sentence, then add, I don't know, some numbers, maybe that's part of your phone number, some numbers that are relevant to you in some sense. And all you have to do is remember that sentence and those numbers, and that's a pretty like easy way to generate a password, and then you change those numbers based on different things. So that's one way that people use to kind of just generate like random, quote unquote random passwords.
That's a neat trick. Didn't know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And as long as you remember that sentence, yeah, most of the times. And you could also make the sentence relevant to, you know, the site. So you might have a sentence saying, I like to eat cheese. Don't ask me why, but it would be like ILETOCE, and then the site that you're on, like Facebook, it would be like FK, and then you could put whatever letters or whatever numbers after that. It could be again numbers on your license plate or your ID or something.
Yeah, but people definitely don't play around with that. You could also check to see if any of your information has been what's the word I'm looking for? Help me. Help me this distinction in English, yeah.
It's you could check to see if your information has been essentially posted on the dark web and so on.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a website called haveibeenpwned.com. I believe it's pwned spelled Pwned.
yep, that's correct.
Yeah, and you can check to see if any of your accounts have been breached. And that's like checking that website is actually the reason why I got a password manager. Because I
Right.
checked it and I saw that I had a Tumblr account that got pwned.
Oh yeah.
And I don't even use Tumblr. I probably just created that account just like on a one-off just to see what it's about.
Hmm.
Just to like say, alright, maybe I'm gonna try start using Tumblr.
Right.
And at that point, I had all my passwords were the same. So if they knew my email address and my password, how many of my accounts would they be able to get into?
Yeah.
And that realization made me just change all my everything
Hmm.
because okay, like my Tumblr has nothing on it, but my Netflix has my credit card information.
Yep. It's definitely a case of one having one exposed point could bring down. It's again, you're only as strong as your weakest link. You know.
Yeah,
So you got to make sure that that whole wall is strong. You can't have any weak points in it. I know. Actually, interesting. Last week, I believe, or like 2 weeks ago, I got a notification that someone in Malaysia not tried to, but logged into my Ubisoft account, and I was like, "What?
yeah,
What?" So, but the thing is, I have two Ubisoft accounts. I realized I had one that I created a few years ago to play Watch Dogs on my laptop, the first Watch Dogs, and that was using basically what is a throwaway email. So if there's something that I even suspect to be spam, I would use that throwaway email. And I thought it was my main Ubisoft account that got breached, and it turned out it was my throwaway one. But I still changed the password on my main one just in case. So like I wasn't too concerned because that one was just, I didn't use that password for anything else, and I already reset all of, like, in the over the past like year. I've reset all of the passwords that I had. I could actually say right now, let me see, I have 118 passwords on my dash lane.
that's a lot of accounts, bro.
I have a lot of accounts, man. I have a lot of accounts.
What are you doing with all those? What? accounts do you have?
Yo, I'm not gonna go through like the whole list, but
I think you
I
have a
have
problem.
well, so I have accounts that are also for like one of my t-shirt business that I started a few years ago. Then I have accounts for things that like Acorns, Ableton, also for the what do you call it, where I bought the URL. I have the basic Amazon, my credit cards.
Did you say Acorn and Ableton? Are those real things?
So Acorns is a money. It's an investing. It's an automatic investing app, and Ableton is a music production software. It's kind of like Fruity Loops. I at one point in time I wanted to produce music, so I was like, yo, I'll download it, and I started playing around with it. And I realized I'm not talented, so I'm not musically inclined. But I have a lot of passwords, and even for this, I have all the passwords that are associated with gamingti. Because it's not all personal passwords. I promise that a lot of it is for a business venture or this or something else.
118 though. That's hmm. There
Yeah,
has to
man.
be some useless stuff in there. It's 118.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some stuff like, for example, I have a TurboTax, and that's something I use once a year. I have a Staples account, Staples, print service, basically, an office supply kind of service. I use that once in a blue moon. Like I just I made some business cards for my mom this weekend, which I still have to pick up. So like that's something that I use once in a while. I have a bunch. I have like 5 job search sites, because finding a job is tough. Well, I mean, I have a job now, thankfully, but you know, and I have a lawyer referral site, and like I have all kinds of stuff, man. It's crazy.
Yo, all these places want you to sign in. I wonder how much of them are 100% confident in their security.
Probably 50%, and that's being generous.
So your information is out there on all these sites. I don't even like thinking about it really. Okay,
Mm,
118 is a lot. But
yeah.
like you have a problem, you're a head case. But still, for another person, they might have a lot of accounts. Like me, I had that Tumblr account that I never used. I think there's probably a lot of people that have accounts just in places that they never think of. If those get breached, phew,
Yeah, that could easily be a breach for almost all their accounts.
yeah, yeah,
And again, you're only as strong as your weakest link, so
yeah. That's oof.
that's why. And again, all of those accounts are on my password manager, so that means all of them they have 20 plus. I realize a lot of sites don't allow more than 16 characters for whatever reason. I wanted 20 to be my minimum, but some sites just don't allow it. So 16 is like my minimum. Well, that's the maximum amount of characters you could put. So a lot of my passwords are 16 characters long, and they're all completely unique. So, I mean, I'd say I'm fairly secure. Yeah, I got a problem, but I'm secure.
At least, I mean, at least you're secure.
Yeah.
It's kind of. Ooh, I'm not gonna
What?
make that joke. Let's continue.
All right. So, um, this is a topic that we're going to be talking about a lot more in depth next week. But if you think private, or I wouldn't even say private, but if you think just companies want your information, it's not just companies. Governments also kind of want your information too. And recently, I'm sure a lot of people know about an app called TikTok. It's getting very popular with the youths out there, with like 1.5 billion users worldwide. I am not one of them, but TikTok is or was acquired a while ago by what is now its parent company, ByteDance, which is a Chinese company. And yeah, it's China has an interesting situation with their people. They have a certain influence on them.
You mean the democratic nation of China?
Oh yeah, super democratic, man.
The I don't know.
It's I mean they the whole the whole government got together and voted to completely abolish the whole, like the president, it can only be in office for X amount of years. 99.8% or something like that voted to abolish that. So now the president, of China currently at Xi Jinping or whatever his name is,
Pooh Bear.
he's oh yeah, he's in office indefinitely, and which means he can do whatever he wants. That's basically like saying if the entire U.S. government got together and abolished. Again, we have a maximum of 2 terms, 4 years each, and we just abolished that. We were just like, yeah, we don't want that anymore. So now the president is just there forever, and he could do what he wants. And if the president that is currently in office
Oh,
did that, well,
that'll be an
that'll be
interesting
interesting.
decision.
But we're not going to get into politics too much, but just the general thing about your information being in the hands of not just companies but governments. And in China, the thing is, a lot of again, we'll talk a lot more in depth about this next week, but a lot of companies get subsidies and so on, essentially from the government, which they say, hey, if you let us ask you certain questions and use some of your information, we'll give you certain subsidies, certain tax breaks, and so on and so forth. And
Hmm.
yeah, so the U.S. recently launched an investigation into TikTok because they're afraid that the Chinese government might be doing something with their American users' data.
I
So
mean, I think this whole thing took off after Cambridge Analytica, that whole scandal where Facebook basically, I don't want to say gave away. Did they give away? But the information, like users' information, were given to the Russians, who then targeted ads to certain users about to elect the current president.
yeah, so there was that whole thing with yeah, they basically said that whole incident could have changed the outcome of the elections. So cybersecurity has also been number one on the US threat list since I think 2009. And we're literally talking about, and that's not even cybersecurity. That's just influencing through social media, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean it's kind of cybersecurity just because uh the data was never supposed to be given out, right?
Right. Although is that what? Because I remember the came maybe it wasn't the Cambridge Analytica, but I remember there was also a situation where Facebook participated in a research like a research, I don't want to call it a project, but in research where they manipulated certain users feeds to show only negative or only positive content, and they did that with the intent to see what the effect on them would be. And what they found is that if they manipulated their feeds to show only negative content, most likely that user would only post things that are negative. And if they manipulated their feed to show only positive content, the same thing. Most likely they would only post positive things. That it's Facebook also owns Instagram, and it's kind of like I can argue like they took away chronological feeds from Instagram a while ago, like a couple of years ago now.
Yeah,
And
Instagram makes no sense. The
yeah,
feed, at least, makes no sense.
yeah, I would scroll through, and or I would open it up and I would see the first thing I see is a post from 6 days ago. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what? And then I scroll down and I see a post from 20 seconds ago.
and the post from 6 days ago might be like a time sensitive post, like a news post or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Say, oh, I would have liked to know about that sale 6 days ago, but
Yeah,
yeah. So it's cybersecurity and just your presence online is such an important thing because it's really becoming a case of your online identity is now part of your identity. If you post something online that is not, well, what we would say like PC, you can essentially be denied a job. That I know that there are certain jobs that when you go to the interview, they tell you to log into your Facebook so they can scroll through to just to see some of the stuff that you post. Although that has started to be like outlawed, I should say. But that's a reality.
that's such a crazy thing to do. That is a wild thing to ask someone to do, yo. Like, that's my That's my private life. How would that affect my if I'm showing up to my job on time? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If I'm doing my job, it does not matter. I don't go asking you, hey, what did this company do a couple of years ago? Uh, did you lose a bunch of money in some making some dumb decision? I don't go ask you that. That's not my place. Just like it's not your place that to look into my personal life.
Yeah, I mean, but I think so. One thing that companies argue is that when you become employed, you are now representing that company. So if you post something that is negative, it can negatively affect the company.
Like if I could understand if you post something negative about the company, or if you're like a face of the company.
Right, like somebody who has some kind of influence in the company.
Yeah, but if my friend okay, the company you I won't say the name, but if you post something crazy on social media, I wouldn't say, hey, this company is crazy. I'll say like, yo, what Imani Wilden, yo.
Yeah, I'm wilding. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know. I mean, I think part of it is a cultural thing as well. This whole thing where culture, like the culture of work and personal life, is becoming less and less separated. It's becoming a case of, since we're all so connected. I specifically don't have my work email on my phone because I don't want. Why do I need to get emails for work when I'm not at work? You know. So it's a case of, a lot of people though don't think like that. A lot of people say, my work is a part of me. I have my email on my phone. It's easy. It's easy to access. But it's becoming a case of, those lines are becoming blurred.
I guess so. I guess so. I guess I could see that.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of people aren't responsible of what they post online too.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just post whatever comes to their mind or like without worrying about the implications.
Without worrying about the implications whatsoever. I mean, the public at large knows somebody who does this, but I'm not gonna say who. But I guess one thing that we can also talk about that is not directly related, only somewhat related, but this was just yesterday. So I guess to give some backstory, Google. Everybody knows Google. Google, it is a phrase that everybody uses. But Google has a parent company called Alphabet that was created, I think, in 2015 to manage all of their subsidiaries. And Google CEO, well, Google CEO Sundar Pichai has now kind of been promoted to now the CEO of Alphabet. So now we have Larry Page, who stepped down, who was the original, or one of the original creators of Google. It's going to be a bit of a change on the executive side for Google and how things are run over there. And the reason I mention this is because a lot of employees, while Sundar Pichai was there, he ran things a little bit differently. I think there was a point in time where they would have a meeting every so often where the employees could kind of voice their concerns and stuff like that. And that was changed to like an idea generation thing instead. Company culture is also a big thing when it comes to, just, I think, how employees work can very much affect the public in terms of how information is passed. Because if the people who work for a company don't want their personal information to be kind of passed around, and they actually have a say in it because they're the ones doing the groundwork of it, and they can communicate that to the upper executives, then most likely it's not going to happen. It's kind of like the same case with Blizzard. Blizzard made a very interesting decision with banning that player from the Hearthstone competition and taking away his winnings and stuff. Not only did the public get outraged, but employees also got outraged, and that eventually forced Blizzard to somewhat recant and give the guy his money and lessen the ban and all of that. So I think one thing we do have to remember is, the people working at these companies generally don't want some of some of these privacy sharing deals that are going on to happen either, because their information is also involved.
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, was it I'm sorry, I don't pay attention to these CEOs of these companies that much. Was it, what do you say his name was?
Sundar Pichai.
Sundar Pichai.
Yeah.
Was it him who removed the Google slogan "Don't be evil"?
Wait, what? That was the Google? That was the slogan?
Yeah, that was Google's slogan since way back when. Don't be evil.
They removed that?
Yeah, so like I don't like what do they think the message that they're sending is when they remove this slogan, "Don't be evil." What
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Yeah, Google removes "Don't be evil" clause from its code of conduct.
right from his code of conduct, not his slogan, yeah, this code of conduct. So they're basically telling their employees be evil, right? It's
That
okay to be kind of evil.
So apparently they Alphabet, their parent company, assumed a slightly adjusted version of the motto, which is "do the right thing." I
Ooh,
argue that that's even
ooh,
worse, because it's kind
that
of like,
is
do the right thing in context to what? Like, I mean, I could do the right thing
exactly,
that's ethically right, but at the same time, I could do the right thing that's for the company, that'll make the company money.
exactly.
Oh man, that's deep, man. I did I
Do the
I
right
did
thing
not know
sounds kind
that.
of airy, actually. Do the right thing kind of sounds like someone has a gun. They're pointing the gun to the employee's head and it's like, "Come on, do the right thing.
Do the right thing, yeah. Oh
You know,
man,
you know what to do. Do the right thing."
I'm actually surprised I didn't hear about this. I mean, that's that's concerning. And I mean, I'll admit, out of a lot of the big companies out of there, I trusted Google more. I put more of my trust in Google than I definitely did for Facebook and some of those other companies.
I mean, I would say that. I would agree with that. I do trust Google more than Facebook, but that's not really that's not that much of a compliment, is it?
That's very true. That's like saying, I trust I don't know, like a non venomous snake more than a venomous snake. And it's like they can both hurt you.
Yeah, that's like saying, yeah, I trust this boa constrictor more than I trust that viper over there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like boa constrictor don't have to put venom into you to kill you.
Yeah, they just kill you in different ways, right?
Yeah. Jeez,
That's just it. They hurt you in different ways.
that's oh man. Well,
And on that cherry note, I think we should end this episode.
yeah, yeah. Don't I mean the thing is, so this is all part of a little theme that's kind of going on. Again, next week we'll be talking a bit more in depth about uh TikTok and also some of the bigger companies out there that you might not know about. So next week we'll be talking a lot more about cybersecurity and all of the implications that surround that. So this was kind of the intro to it. It's kind of to ease you into it, because that's a topic that's so big that we can't just necessarily just jump into it. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of just a little bit of a prologue
just a
before we jump.
just a taste, just a taste. Just an appetizer before the main course.
Appetizer before that, exactly. So next week we'll be diving into TikTok, their parent company ByteDance, and some of the other big companies out there. When I'm talking about billions of dollars, you've probably never heard of them.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. And on that note, that bittersweet note, don't worry. It's a bit scary right now, and the future might be uncertain, but at least you'll be educated and you'll have the information to, tackle it head on, and hopefully with this a proper sense of justice. Because we need justice. We need superheroes. So yeah, we'll talk about everything next week.
All right. Peace.
Peace.